Test on one day. India, England, Australia. What a player! What a player! What a player!
Welcome back, everybody, to Waadaplaya Concussion Sub-Series. We are covering New Zealand Tour of England 2 Test match series. The second Test match starts in Edgbaston soon. Big news coming in from New Zealand camp. And England is all about Ollie Robinson these days. So let's talk about how the game is progressing from a preview point of view. We got Sanjay back, who attended the first test match and seen the game live from Lords to cover second test. And we got Vaishak back into action. How are you guys doing today?
Great, Suman.
Great. First things first, big news coming in from New Zealand camp. Looks like Kane Williamson is doubtful in the playing 11 due to elbow injury. Reactions, guys? Is that an impact or is that a safety measure from New Zealand?
I believe it's a safety measure because they don't want to risk him. He looks to have a elbow niggle, and with the World Test Championship coming in, they would want him ready to be for that match against India. They wouldn't want to risk him like aggravating that injury for that match and missing that. So they would prefer that ahead of this. They would risk losing this series than losing the World Test Championship. So I believe this is a precautionary measure. And there is also news coming in that they might rotate most of their players, like their bowlers and even some of their all-rounders as well. So it would be good to see how the New Zealand 11 shape up with the way things are going on.
Yeah, most definitely. And Sanjay, not only they are going to look at world number 1 test batsman resting, but a captain. So who would captain New Zealand in absence of Williamson?
I think Ross Taylor would be an obvious choice because he's the most senior batsman. I think this is very soon going to become like a warm-up match for New Zealand because they would want to ensure that all their players are supremely fit and ready for the World Test Championship final. They wouldn't want to risk any niggle. Had it been a normal tour, they would try and play as many people in their first 11 as they preferably would. But now they're not going to risk anyone. They are most likely going to keep Saudi out to give him a rest and try Trent Boult so that he has some overs in the belt. But yeah, Ross Taylor should be the captain. There's very little riding on this one match, apart from, yes, this is a series decider. But in the larger scheme of things, England's not much interested in this series. Neither they are interested in India series. I think all they're interested in is World T20 and the Ashes. But yeah, for New Zealand, this is just one test match, but World Test Championship is what everyone's gearing up for.
I have a slightly different opinion here. I think Tom Latham might captain. We have seen him captain previously in the Bangladesh series when Kane Williamson was not there. So I believe they would not go back to Ross Taylor and give it to Tom Latham.
He's our captain in our fantasy as well. So
very interesting. And guess what? Another good news. Trent Boult seems available and likely to return. So that's going to be a big factor. He will warm up for India, which is not so great news for Virat Kohli, but great news for New Zealand.
Yeah, 2 left-arm bowlers. Neil Wagner looks in really good form. He's like their workhorse. And Trent Boult, once he gets some overs under his belt, anyways, he was in decent form in the IPL as well. I think he will be very, very difficult for India to face with. So yeah, ominous signs. But hopefully he'll have a good test match. We've got decent bowlers as well. So yeah, we need all their best players to play, and we'll see who wins.
Okay. And Mitch Santner is also rolled out for Gary Stead, head coach for New Zealand, due to cut left index finger. He was bleeding in the Lord's Test when they were showing on the television. Who would replace him? Any thoughts?
I think it would be Ajaz Patel. He last played a test in February 2020. He's also a left-arm spinner who can bat a little bit. So I think they would go with him rather than Rachin Ravindra. Rachin Ravindra is an opening batsman. He's uncapped. He also can bowl some left-arm spin, but he's actually a batsman who can bowl a bit. So they would actually, if they want an ideal replacement for Mitchell Santner, I think they would go with Ajaz Patel.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I mean, New Zealand was prepared. I think they went with a good squad, understandably so, for both World Test Championship and England series. Moving on to England playing 11. So it's all about Ollie Robinson these days in England cricket, which is understandable. I think the reactions are warranted. there is no place for the kind of comments which he's made. Mike Holding said that he deserves a second chance, should not be harsh. What are your reactions to Ollie Robinson? And then we can switch to the playing 11 of England.
I think there are mixed reactions to it. If you see, when he actually tweeted, he was 18 or 19. He was in his teenage, but still, whatever he did was still unacceptable. If he had to be punished, he had to be punished back then, not like dig it back some 10 years later and punish him. Now I think he's become a more matured person. I think whatever suspension he's got should be enough. There should not be enough punishments. And I think he should be brought back to the England series. That's what my personal opinion would be. But again, ECP wanted to make a strong stance that they are against all this racism, and so that is the reason they have gone with it. But I think we have two ways to look at it, as I said. Since they wanted to take a strong stance, they did this. But again, if you look at an individual point of view from Ollie Robinson, it is little harsh on the play.
Also, just to add, so this suspension is not really a result of what he's done. The suspension is because ECB is reviewing the entire thing, what happened, what's the current state and all that. And then they will come to a decision, okay, this matter is too old. The suspension no longer, needs to be there. He is available for selection as soon as possible. Or there needs to be n number of matches or days. It'll come ahead. And the other thing which we hear is there's another player who's very old tweets when he was 15, 16 is being also reviewed. So there is no place, as Suman said, for all the racial slurs or whatever you do in any day and age. So due course will follow. But for Ollie Robinson's sake, hopefully we'll see him back in India Test.
Who will replace Ollie Robinson, and will England make any other changes to their playing level going into Edgbaston?
I think they'll Ollie Robinson being an all-rounder, he performed well with the bat as well. So they would want someone who can perform with the bat as well as bowl. So they would I think they would go with Craig Overton, who is a like replacement for Ollie Robinson. But I am not sure, and he has also made his debut previously, I guess. So he wouldn't be nervous. I think they would go with him and try to balance out the attack and the batting as well.
Excellent. So series decider for England, New Zealand. I think both the teams, my prediction would be playing safely for a draw, knowing how they went about, unless New Zealand presses for a win. If New Zealand win or press for a win, I think that is ominous signs for India. But if it is draw, I would think World Test Championship Mace is coming to Sanjay Dubey's favorite, Virat Kohli.
I mean, hopefully, it because it's only one test match. All you need is one decent innings, one great spell, and everything could be turned around. The only thing that's going in India's favour is that they are able to see through all the New Zealand players who are playing, and New Zealand players will have burnout. Kane Williamson potentially not playing, and other bowlers who've had a long spell. If again Edgbaston goes to 5 days, could work in India's favour, because literally next week you have the World Test Championship final. But this game, I think it's 50-50, anybody's game, I would say. But considering how New Zealand are being cautious and they are changing their squad, I think England will have a slight upper hand.
Okay. So draw, England potentially winning, Sanjay. Vishak, what do you take out of the series?
I believe England have the upper hand, mainly because New Zealand are keen on experimenting. They don't want to risk their players, and they want to give their players rest, their potential bowlers. And Kane Williamson is doubtful. I think Kane Williamson might not play. They might not risk him, even though it is said is doubtful. And there are also, as I said, there are also talks of their bowlers being rotated. Even though Trent Boult is back, it's not their full strength bowling attack which would play. There are talks that they might rotate their complete bowling attack, and they might get Matt Henry, Doug Bracewell, and all these people into the bowling lineup. So I think if they manage to do that and play a fresh bowling attack, I think England will have an upper hand, because it's not the first choice 11 for New Zealand. And definitely Kane Williamson's captaincy and batting will be definitely missed. Even though he failed in the first test, he's too big a player to be missed. So I think England definitely have a upper hand in this test match.
Lots to look forward for. More cricket coming up. Excellent. As usual, Sanjay and Vishak, thanks for your inputs. This is the 2-match series, so We're looking forward for the second test match. Before going, just a quick shout out for the frontline workers across the globe, especially for India. Things are starting to slightly improve. Get vaccinated at your earliest opportunity. I think second, continue to practice social distancing, wear masks, and look after yourselves. Things will start getting better. It is summer most parts of the globe, and light at the end of the tunnel, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Drop us a comment. Let us know how we are doing, what else you would like to see. Until next time, thank you, Sanjay and Vishak. See you soon.
Thanks, everyone. Stay safe.